Hello friends. Welcome to the Odds Stats channel dedicated to the analysis of odds and statistics for sports events. In this video I will tell you about a betting strategy for basketball matches. This strategy is essentially analogous to investment strategies in financial markets. It is called averaging down. If you look at price movements in any financial market, you will see that prices never move in one direction. Declines follow rises and rises follow declines. This algorithm is also present in sports matches. Additionally, this strategy includes the proper allocation of investment assets. Let's say we have a bankroll of 100,000 units. We divide it into 10 equal parts, investing one part in a single instrument. And we further divide each part into 3 or 4 portions of varying sizes. A typical allocation might be 10%, 20%, 30%, and 40%. Suppose we decide to invest in a particular financial instrument. We start by making a purchase with 10%. If the price moves against us, then there is a 50% drawdown. We make a second purchase with 20%. If the adverse movement continues, we make a purchase with 30%. Following this analogy, the next purchase would be with 40%. Since price movements are always inconsistent, we achieve our profit when there is a pullback. I'll explain this in more detail using this Bitcoin to USD chart. Let's assume we placed a buy bet around this range. The price went down, and somewhere around here we placed another buy bet with 20%. Then the price continues to drop and we place a bet with 30%. When the price returns to its initial values, or at least comes back to the midpoint, our trade closes in profit. Since we had a 10% bet here and a 30% bet here, the profit from the latter covers the loss from the 10% bet. We can apply this strategy to basketball betting with the same success. We can apply this strategy just as effectively to betting on the total points in basketball. For instance, we divide our bankroll €1,000 into 10 equal parts. Each part will be used for betting on one match, and we further divide each part into 4 portions. Given that the working odds are approximately 1, 8, 5, 1 and 9, the first bet is €25. This will be our starting point. The second bet is €50, the third is €100, and the fourth is €200. Similar to investment purchasing, this will be a bet on the total over, while selling is a bet on the total under. As you may have guessed, we will be betting on the overall total in the match. Now, to better understand, let's move on to analytics using the Odds Stats resource. We analyzed 10,000 men's basketball matches and 3,700 women's matches. We studied the deviation of final total points in the match relative to the initial total set by the bookmaker, with odds around 1 and 9 before the match started. Let's look at the table with the results we obtained. For men's matches, the analysis was divided by the initial total. Matches with totals below 180 points and those with totals above 180 points. If we consider a match accurately predicted by the bookmaker as having a deviation of less than 5 points, such matches account for about 24%. Deviations from 5 to 9.5 points make up 22%. From 10 to 19 points make up 33%. From 20 to 30 points make up 16%. And more than 30 points account for 6 and 2%. This is for matches where the initial total is less than 180 points. Matches where the initial total is over 180 points have about 20% of exactly guessed matches. Additionally, 20% of matches have a deviation from 5 to 9.5. 31% have a deviation from 10 to 20 points. 17% have a deviation from 20 to 30 points. And 10% have more than a 30-point deviation. Therefore, we do not recommend betting on matches where the initial total is over 170 points. The results of the analysis for women's teams are similar to those for men's teams where the total is less than 180. To understand the movement of the overall total offered by the bookmaker during the match, we selected 5 random matches and recorded the current score for each minute of the game. Then the deviation from the initial total was calculated. For better visualization, graphs were created based on this data. Let's look at an example of a graph. In the first match, the initial total was 160 points. The blue line represents the movement of the total given by the bookmaker. The brown line shows the deviation of the calculated total from the live line. As we can see, the total value decreased during the game because the teams were clearly not scoring enough points. It dropped from 160 to 135 points. But by the end of the match, the teams started scoring heavily, and the total eventually rose to 143. Now let's delve into the essence of the strategy in more detail. Considering that in 94% of matches, the final total deviation from the initial total is no more than 30 points, we can use this information to place bets with a higher likelihood of profit. Next, we need to determine the total value at which we will place a bet. For this, we will need the odds stats informational and analytical resource, which has compiled an archive of over 63,000 basketball matches. Let's open the Basketball Live section and study the current matches. We are looking for matches where the live total value is significantly higher or lower than the bookmaker's initial total. Right now, we have only one match that fits our criteria. If the current live total is higher than the bookmaker's initial total, it is highlighted in orange. If lower, it is highlighted in dark blue. The difference between the current and initial total is shown in the live table and highlighted in green. The current difference is 14.5. The bookmaker's initial total is displayed in the far right column of the table. We then click the arrow to move to our match. In the selected match, fill in the country, league, men, women in the filter row, and the odds for outcomes will automatically populate. Click the search button to get filtered matches. Since our current total exceeds the initial one, we enter the current total value in the under column and click search. We get an 80% pass rate. We see that only in one game was the current total exceeded. Additionally, we can check how the teams have performed with such a total. Remove the odds and check the teams one by one. Writers Vilnius has an 80% pass rate with this total. While Zalgiris has a 98% pass rate. We recommend betting on matches with a probability of 90% or higher. However, since it is currently off-season and there are few matches, for example, we place a $25 bet on this match. Next, we monitor the game. If the deviation is 5 points against our bet, we place the next bet with double the amount. As mentioned earlier, the total funds for one match should be calculated for 4 bets. A loss will be considered when all 4 bets are lost. Upon further monitoring of the match, we see that the live total has decreased even more from 185 to 181. Therefore, we did not need to place a second bet. As a result, our bet won with odds of 175. Let's look at another game example. Olympiacos Panathinaikos. The match is live and the third quarter has just ended. The current total is 168, which is 13 points higher than the initial total of 155. We conduct the necessary filtering and input a total of less than 168, since the current total is higher than the initial one. We see that the success rate for this total is 88%, which is close to our recommended bet threshold of 90% or higher. We place our first bet on the total being under 168.5 with odds of 170. This odds value dropped because my bookmaker kept the live line closed for a long time. We continue monitoring the match and see that the total has moved against us, increasing to 173. Therefore, we need to place a second bet of $50. In the end, we have two bets, one of which is a winning one. This strategy can significantly increase your bankroll if you follow all the rules. If you are still unsure, you can get a free 1-week access to the odds stats resource. The conditions are specified on the website. Subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up, and stay tuned for even more profitable strategies and useful information on sports betting. Here's to more winning bets and green tickets. See you soon.